Hey guys, so for today's video, I'm doing a super in-depth video on how I like to do my half-cut creases on myself. In this video, I go into a lot of detail about brushes, technique, shadow placement, picking up shadow on your brushes, all that good stuff. So if you're a beginner or new to eyeshadow, this video is perfect for you. I think this half-cut crease technique is so beautiful. It complements so many eye shapes and so many face shapes. I do have another video on my channel that focuses more on the center cut crease, so that halo-eyed look. So if you'd want to see that video, I'm going to link that down below for you. And if you want to learn exactly how I do this half cut crease, go ahead and keep on watching. So I wanted to show you guys what my face looks like when my eye and face is completely relaxed. So I'm just looking straight ahead and this is what it looks like. My eyes are slightly hooded. You can still see part of my lid, but you can't see my entire lid. And I have just a lot of extra skin right here. So that's when my eye looks like completely relaxed, but naturally I tend to just lift my eyebrows when I'm talking, when I'm filming. I'm always lifting my eyebrows, it's just something I do, so this is with my eyebrow lifted. This is just how I talk, and I know a lot of people do this too, so this is with my eyebrow lifted and my face is like tight, you know? So here's lifted, relaxed. But I just wanted to share that with you because I know my eyes aren't completely hooded, but they are slightly hooded. We're gonna get right into this and I'm gonna try to be as detailed as possible and try to explain everything that I'm doing and why I'm doing it. First off, for my brushes today, I will be using my Sigma Favorites brush set that I created with Sigma. So my brush set has my 5 go-to eye makeup brushes in it. I totally think that you can use this brush set to create any eyeshadow look, and especially a half cut crease, which is what we're doing today. So I already have foundation on and my eyebrow is done, obviously, and we're going to prime the eyes. I personally alternate between something like a MAC paint pot and a thick liquid concealer. You can really use either of them, but today I'm going to use concealer. And I like to use concealer because it does help hide any veins and redness on your lid. So you can use a brush, a finger, a sponge to blend this out. And you want to make sure you get this all the way into your inner corner, right in here, and also your outer corner out here. I tend to miss this area sometimes. Now I'm going to set my lid in place with a powder. I like to use a translucent powder. This is the RCMA no color one. You can also use something like a foundation powder that matches your skin tone, or even a skin tone colored eyeshadow. So I'm going to take my Sigma E35 and just dip it in my powder. And you just want to set all that concealer in place, especially in your crease. So now my eyelid is set and it's ready for eyeshadow. For my palette today, I'm gonna use the Anastasia Soft Glam palette just because I know that a lot of people own this one. And I'm gonna be sticking with neutral shades today. But you can do a half cut crease with literally any color combo. I do half cut creases all the time on my channel. And you'll see that I can use so many different colors to do a half cut crease. But today we're gonna go easy and go neutral. So I'm gonna start with a transition shade. I'm gonna take Orange Soda on the Sigma E35 for my brush set. And I'm just gonna blend this back and forth in my crease. This is just going to give you a nice little wash of color, and we're going to build this up. So with these shades that I'm placing in my crease, I'm making sure to bring it all the way into my inner crease right here and all the way out here. You don't want to bring this shade right underneath your brow, but you can see I'm pretty close to my brow, but I'm not touching it. Now I'm going to switch to a deeper shade and a more tapered brush. So this is a Sigma E25. It has a little bit of a tapered point at the top. You can see it's a little bit flat and less fluffy than that first brush I used. Here are them together for comparison. So again, this E25 is in my brush set, but if you have really small eyelids and need something even smaller, I'd recommend the Sigma E27. So this is the E27 and it's an even smaller version of the E25. So I'm gonna pick up the shade Rustic on my E25. So I swirled the tip of my brush in the shadow, then I'm gonna tap off the excess. So you can see the shadow is on the tip of my brush, and we're gonna start to deepen up the crease. So So this brush is a little more precise than the first one I used, so it lets me place this shade more directly in my crease. And again, you want to make sure you get the shade all the way into your inner crease, especially right here, because you want that to peek through when we do the actual cut crease. And just to show you, here is what my eye looks like relaxed as I'm blending. Now I'm going to take a little bit more of that first orange soda shade, and I'm going to blend right on top of that rustic shade to help soften any edges. All right, so right now the colors of my crease are pretty much done. What I'm gonna do now is work on the outer corner of my eye, and then we'll do the cut crease. So I picked up more of that rustic shade, and I'm using the side of my E25 now. You can see it's not just the tip, it's on the side. And I'm gonna stamp that on the outer corner of my eye and connect it into my outer crease. I'm doing about 2 to 3 layers of this shadow out here to get it as dark as I want. Now I'm going to take a little bit more of that orange soda shade, and I'm going to use that to lightly blend right here in the center of my lid where that dark brown is meeting my blank lid. So just right here. Just because I want this to be a little bit softer. Now at this point, I like to go back to my first fluffy brush, my E35, and I have no extra product on this brush, but I'm just going to lightly blend over everything. Okay, now it's time for the part you've all been waiting for, the actual cut crease. I'm sure you've seen this technique before, it's nothing new. I've been doing it on myself for years, but I'm just showing you guys more in depth on what I'm doing. So I'm gonna use my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer again. You just wanna use any kind of liquid concealer that's a little bit thick. I'm gonna show you some other ones I've used for this technique. CoverGirl True Blend, Urban Decay Stay Naked, Makeup Revolution Conceal and Hydrate, the Fenty Beauty Concealer, and the Too Faced Born This Way Concealer. I've used this one a lot on my channel. Pretty much any concealer like that will work perfectly for this. I'd recommend not using a pot concealer. You want a liquid. Now let's talk brushes for a second. For my cut crease brush, my favorite is the Sigma L05 lip brush. So this was technically made for the lips, but for me, it is perfect for cut creases because it's nice and small. It's so small and flat and precise, it just lets me get right in here to make a nice line. You could use something a little bit bigger, like a typical concealer brush. This is the one that I use, so here they are for size comparison. You can see this one's a little bit bigger. I've seen some people go even bigger than that and use a brush like this. This is a Sigma E58. There's a little size comparison there. You can see this E58 is much larger than the L05. So for this technique, I think the smaller the brush, the better. So I just place a little bit of concealer on the back of my hand, and I'm gonna dip one side of my brush into that concealer. And what you wanna do is kind of look down and place some concealer on the bottom part of your lid. But you do not wanna get it on your eyelashes, okay? So I have a good amount of concealer on my lid, and then I like to look up and around. And there we go. So where that concealer transferred to is exactly where I want my cut crease. So I'm just taking whatever's left on my brush, and I'm gonna start to kind of connect the dots here. And I like to do pretty small motions for this. Again, the smaller the brush, the better. I recommend getting really, really close to a mirror for this step, but I obviously can't because I'm filming this. And you just want to create a half moon shape. And I just like to move the concealer around to get it exactly where I want it. I still didn't pick up any more concealer. I'm just using what was on my brush. And I like to go a little bit more than halfway. Because like right here would be halfway, but I could just go a little bit farther. And then I'm gonna wipe off that brush on a little towel, and I'm gonna pat along this line right here. You can also use your finger for this step, but again, I like small brushes so I can be more precise. So you can see now I have this nice cut crease line right there. So now you can pretty much apply any shade you want on top of that concealer. I'm gonna use a shimmer shade just because I like how that looks. You can put a matte shade on top of the concealer, but I'd recommend setting your eye first with some kind of translucent powder or foundation powder first, because putting a matte eyeshadow on top of a sticky concealer is gonna be a big mess. So I'm gonna use my same brush that I was using in the shade Glistening, and I'm just gonna apply that on top of the concealer. At this point, you could switch to a larger lid brush since like the hard work is done, but I already have this brush out, so I'm just gonna keep using it. But see how I just used the edge of this brush just to nicely go on top of that concealer? Now I'm gonna go back to my E25 with no additional product on it, and I'm gonna blend right where that matte brown meets the shimmer, just to soften this a little bit. And now I'm gonna switch to a Sigma E30 pencil brush, and I'm gonna take a darker shade, so I'm gonna take Cypress Umber. Right, so I have that shade on my brush like that, and I'm gonna pat this on my very outer corner to deepen it up even more, and it gives the eye more depth and dimension. Now this next step is optional, but I think it makes the cut crease pop even more. But this step can be a little bit tricky and it takes some time getting used to and getting it like perfect. So I'm gonna take the little cut crease brush I used and just wiping it off again, making sure there's no shadow on it right now. And I'm gonna take more of that rustic shade right on the tip of my brush. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do first. I don't have it on my brush right now. And I'm gonna use this to outline the top of my cut crease. So you can see some of that brown is peeking through, but going over it again is gonna make it pop even more. So I'm literally dipping the tip into the shadow. And you don't want too much product, just a little bit. And I'm going to very carefully outline the cut crease. See how that just makes like the slightest difference and just makes it pop even more? Like I said, it's optional, but I think it looks good. Now we're pretty much done with the top lid. Now let's do the lower lash line. For the lower lash line, I'd recommend using small brushes like the Sigma E30. For the longest time, I was using fluffy brushes like my E35 on my lower lash line, and it just gets all over the place. It looks messy. So like this brush is too big for my lower lash line. It's not precise at all. So I recommend using a pencil brush like the E30, or you can go even smaller and take the E21 smudge brush. This is also in my brush set, but I'm gonna stick with the E30. So I'm gonna take more of that rustic shade and I'm gonna blend that on my entire lower lash line. And I'm using the tip of the brush for this, which is exactly why you want a pencil brush. Then I'm going to take a little bit of orange soda again and just use that to lightly blend right underneath that dark brown. And then I'm going to take the darkest brown that I use, Cypress Umber, and I have this on the tip of my brush, and I'm going to focus this on the outer part of my lower lash line. Now I'm going to do one more step with eyeshadow, which is highlighting the eyes. So now I'm going to switch to the E21 for my brush set. It's just a nice little small brush. And I'm going to take the shade Tempera, and I'm going to go right in my inner corner. And I also like to go right under my brow right here. Okay, now I'm going to pop on just a basic thin black line of eyeliner. My current favorite eyeliner is the Haus Labs Liquid 1 in Punk, so that's what I'm going to use. You could totally use like a pencil or a gel formula, but this is the one that I like. Alright, so there's my thin line of eyeliner. Now I'm going to go off camera and pop on some mascara and lashes. Alright, I popped on some lashes. I used one of my current favorite styles right now, which is the Makeup Geek Ava lashes. I just think these lashes are so beautiful. And here's the final look. So you can see that now my eyelid looks much bigger and I have much more space to work with if I wanted to play with like multiple colors on my lid or do something fun and crazy. I think this is such a flattering look for so many face shapes and so many eye shapes. It just looks beautiful. Doing a half cut crease can be pretty tricky if it's your first time trying it, but don't get frustrated if it's not right on the first try. It took me years to get this technique down. Honestly, all you gotta do is keep practicing, and if you feel like it looks weird on yourself, maybe try bringing your cut crease out farther, maybe towards here, or even farther inwards. You could also try bringing the cut crease even higher if you wanted. Honestly, I probably could have gone a little bit higher today, but this is totally fine. I just want to encourage you guys to try this technique and don't get frustrated with yourself. This is probably the most in-depth tutorial I've done on my channel in my whole life. So I hope you guys learned something new or helpful. As always, I'm going to link every single product I use down below, including the brush set that I used. And if you want to check out any other Sigma brushes or products, you can use my code AngelaBright to save 10%. And that code does not work on the brush set, but the brush set is already 20% off the retail price if you were to buy those 5 brushes individually. So either way, you're getting a good deal. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.